Good morning, everybody. The second time. I just realised partway through my session a few minutes ago that my microphone wasn't switched on, which is not a lot good to you, really, is it? Okay, so I thought we'll have another go. So I'm just going to check a couple of settings with a couple of things for a second. You bear with me. Make sure everything is working the way it should be. Make sure the sound is really on this time. And you can actually hear me. Yes, you can. That's wonderful. Great. Okay, great. Okay, so sorry about that, folks. But here we go again. Just go back to the beginning, I think it's probably the best thing to do. So morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know, I'm Richard at Total Digital. For those of you who do know me, lovely to see you. Welcome to my all new YouTube channel, as I set up about a week and a half ago. I tried the live stream about a week and a half ago and had a gremlin sharing my screen on the live stream, so I started again. So I'll do it again. So the first one this morning was no sound. Never mind. Okay. I really wanted to reach out to all businesses in this crisis. I've been speaking to loads and loads of them, hundreds actually, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and just see how I can help and offer some free help and advice on the digital marketing side of things. So today is the first of a new regular series of live streams to help businesses adapt in the digital space and thrive both during and critically after the crisis, which is starting to come into view now, what we need to do after the crisis. So this session is called 5 Top Tips on How to Make Your Online Marketing Stand Out During and After the COVID-19 Crisis. Should take no longer than 15 or 20 minutes. The probably 20. Hopefully I won't talk too much. The live stream is part of my free digital space program for local businesses to help businesses adapt and thrive in the digital space during and after the crisis. I'm going to give you a little bit more detail later on about how I help people generally, and also specifically what other help's available, a part of the program, and also what I'm doing for the extra levels of support that I'm giving to my existing clients. If you're watching live, you can use the live chat feature to post any questions that you might have, and we'll maybe come to those at the end if there's time. So what I'm going to do now is start by sharing my PowerPoint presentation with you, just to go through a few key points, just to start off about me. Not too much, only a slide or two, just to give you some context to what I do and what my background is, and then a little bit of context about the crisis and what we as businesses need to do in the crisis, and then critically dive into the 5 top tips and things you really need to keep in focus during the crisis, and we'll talk about after as well. So let me just share my screen. So we'll start again on that one. I just find my PowerPoint presentation, and if I just go to share the screen, you should now be seeing that, folks. And if I just put the full one up, good. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So just a quick recap about me. And what my background and experience is, and perhaps why you may feel I can help you. I've been doing digital marketing for about 20 years. When I started, Google was a brand new thing, really. It's a couple of years old, maybe 1 2 years old. Amazon 6 years old, sold books. There wasn't really any social media. There were sites like MySpace, LinkedIn was around, but it was more about posting your CV. It wasn't really a social networking site. And there was no such thing as YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. So no real social media as we understand it today, and certainly no Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, anything like that. I'm a member of the judging panel at the Perfect North Tech Awards. and also the Northern Digital Awards last year and this, and hopefully future times I'll be asked back. It's great because it means I get to see all sorts of really interesting digital marketing projects, large and small, public sector and private sector, and work with some of the larger agencies and experts in the field in a judging situation, looking at some really great and innovative work from businesses all across the north of England, really, not Scotland, the north of England. So it's really great, really helps me, good for my development. Also, it helps my clients because it means I keep in touch with all the latest thinking. Okay, so just briefly what I do before we come on to talk about context of the crisis and what we need to do in the crisis. So I help people with a digital marketing strategy. I mentor digital marketing to make sure they achieve their goals. So it could be that they just want somebody who's going to help them achieve their goals. They've got everything set up, they're happy with what they're doing, but they just need somebody who to keep an eye on it and really help them achieve their goals. They perhaps want someone to audit their digital marketing. So sometimes I can be asked to go in and look at an existing setup, just purely from an objective point of view, to give another pair of eyes and ears and give them a view on what I think they're doing right or what I think they're doing wrong. There are quite a few clients who like me to do that on a regular basis, just to make sure they're still on track. But it's not as it's a more light touch than mentoring. It's really just looking at things in that context. It can sometimes be a one-off thing where, as part of an audit process for a larger business, they need to look at all their digital assets and the way they handle themselves in the digital space. So it could be their domain name, for example. It's not properly registered with the right people in the right place, and they don't control it, or it could be their social media and the way they're using that. I help people find great content, so I curate content, and I was finding great content for people to share, but I also create it as well. I do write and create content for people to help them. I also train people in digital marketing, but normally on a one-to-one basis. Don't normally run public courses. So let's talk about the crisis, as we're now calling it. I want to just really focus on how you can adapt and thrive in this crisis, and particularly after the crisis. But it's relevant now. So obviously, the first thing is attitude. Hopefully, it's preaching to the converted here, and it's pretty obvious to people. Staying calm, being proactive, positive, focusing on what you can control, and don't focus on the stuff you have no control over. I find best to limit your news intake. I'm kind of limiting mine to 30 minutes a day at the moment in given times of the day. Take everything a bit at a time, by the day, the week, the hour, the minute sometimes. Have some structure and time blocking in your day. Think carefully about your new business strategy. Effectively, all business and marketing strategies that you had before the crisis have to be rewritten and rethought, because everything's changing and going to carry on changing. There's a new normal. Also, I just think it's about showing some leadership. It's leadership in your community. It's leadership maybe even in your family, in your household. It's leadership in your business. It's leadership in the business community. Just generally helping other people to get through this when they need help. And we all have bad days sometimes. So attitude, very important. Communications, absolutely vital. So from a practical point of view, make sure your IT infrastructure is working and set up correctly for long-term remote working. If you're not already a remote home worker, you perhaps want to look at making your arrangements a little bit better for that, because it may well be you're going to be doing more of it even after the lockdown is finished. So make sure your data, your software, and your hardware and your comms are all working really, really well. If you need any help or recommendations on who to talk to about that, get in touch with me, message me. You see my details at the end. So also reach out to your family, your friends, close business contacts, give and receive support. Really just communicate as widely as possible with people, just to see how they're getting on. I also think from a business point of view, reach out to all your contacts, see how they are. give and receive support to them as well. I'm kind of targeting to do 10 a day at the moment. But keep doing that day after day after day. Just keep doing it. Because there'll probably be a percentage of those people who really appreciate you doing that and maybe expect a call from you or a FaceTime with you. Do things like make sure your website's up to date and your social media profiles are up to date. Very important that people see that. And they're going to be looking you up online more than they ever are. We're coming to that in a second. Let's look at trends and opportunities in the crisis. Well, your online audience has almost doubled. There's a heck of a lot of live streaming like this. Video calls, videos being produced. There's an enormous growth in values-based marketing, which we're going to come to some of that in a moment. So values like supporting and connecting, kindness, empathy, authenticity, vulnerability, they're all very, very important values in normal times. They're probably a little bit emphasized in a crisis in terms of the way people are feeling, especially because people are feeling a little bit frightened and uncertain. Humor is a good thing too. A great opportunity there in terms of the right type of humor can get you some really good engagement with people. Obviously, the wrong kind of humor doesn't, but a sense of humor helps anyway in terms of your attitude. Innovation, don't be frightened to experiment and innovate in all of your business and marketing techniques, because we're in such uncertain times. There are all sorts of things that wouldn't normally work that will probably work really, really well. And finally, let's just summarize an action plan before we come on to my 5 top tips. Well, you need to remodel your marketing strategy because whatever you had planned for before is now new and needs to change. So at the moment, your audience is online only. I think after the crisis, it'll be much more online than it was before. So you need to create an online offering for your business, even if it's a very offline type of business. So if you're a gardener, then perhaps start vlogging on YouTube with gardening tips would be an example of that. So you really need to make your social media output and your online marketing output stand out when it comes to the 5 top tips in a moment. Really also need to look at breaking the rules. What I mean by that is these are very unconventional times, a lot of very volatile, a lot of change. That means that the things that normally work for you may not work well, and things that didn't work normally will work well. So be prepared to experiment and understand that conventions and the norms of business and marketing are probably very, very different. Reach out to your network, as I said earlier, customers, suppliers, maybe even former customers and former suppliers, without expectation, just to be social, just to say, how are you? How are things? What do you think about what's going on? There's some very useful information and thought process you can get from that. And it may also get you some business as well. And I think finally, in your action plan for the crisis, I think you're all going to have to learn to love being on camera. People often don't like being on camera and shy away from it, but you're going to have to learn to love being on camera. So let's just talk about now the 5 top tips to stand out before and after the crisis. I'm really looking at all the data and the trends in social media and online at the moment really, really closely, probably pretty much every day. It's moving very, very quickly. It's constantly changing. So the things I'm going to tell you today may well have changed in a few weeks. And when we get to after the crisis, I think there'll be some quite significant changes, but there'll still be quite a lot of common threads in what we're going to talk about now. So here are the 5 top tips. Firstly, positivity prevails. So, as I said before, values like empathy and solidarity, love, affection, they're gaining the best form of traction on all forms of social media, business to business and business to consumer. Customers at the moment, they want a break. They want positivity. So the doom and gloom and pessimism will get very little traction and possibly even a backlash from you. Those are probably obvious to most people, but really be positive. Social media has a bad press most of the time, particularly the last few years, but it can be such a force for good in bad times, as we've seen with a fantastic story of, is it 13 or 14 million pounds being raised by the 99-year-old chap who's walking around his garden. Amazing. And that's an example of how it can be great. So there's a lot of positivity around, and let's harness that, but it's really valuable for you in your social media marketing. So here's a very simple example I picked out about a week ago. This is a holiday company. It's a how to do it really. A recognition of what's going on. Times of uncertainty, giving you something to look forward to. That's quite a nice, positive, well-crafted piece of content. Okay, so let's talk about experimentation. These are uncertain and volatile times, as I said. The normal rules don't apply. And so things like the best times to post on social media, the best channels, best platforms to post on, the normal rules may not work. So whereas you might say, I don't normally post much business stuff on my Facebook page because I'm a business-to-business organization, and I normally get most of my business on LinkedIn, you might try your Facebook page, and vice versa. There might be business to consumer business, you don't do much on LinkedIn, might try and do some posts on LinkedIn as well. So let's talk about third, honesty, fact, and vulnerability. Again, this is another aspect of the tone of these things. So you're going to get 4 to 5 times more engagement if you have honest, factual approach to your social media posts at the moment. Fourthly, really key point, and if you can remember anything of these 5 points, I think this is probably the most important point, and this applies before, after, and during, and after the crisis. It's always been a factor in all forms of online marketing, websites, social media, and it's a subject of storytelling. People like stories. So they like your story, my story, the story of your day, the story of your week, your month. They like your customer's stories, a story about what you've done to help out a customer today, or how a customer's had an issue and you've helped them, or perhaps a good story that the customer has, sharing their story. Supplier stories. So telling a story on social media and on your website, for that matter, is really, really powerful. So if you want to know more about storytelling online, please get in contact with me, and we'll have a more in-depth session on what that actually means. And I think perhaps I want to just say, finally, on the storytelling point, it isn't the time for the hard sell. It really is the era of social selling. Most people are very resistant to the hard sell direct sales approach. At the best of times, I think there's a higher level of resistance at the moment than normal. Okay, and finally, point 5, hopefully, I hope rather obvious, quality over quantity. 2 great posts a week are better than 20 average ones. So really good quality posts. Visual sells, important to make them visually attractive as well. And video, as ever, gets the best engagement. I think that's still a rule that applies that isn't one of the rules that's getting broken, still very important. So let me just talk to you quickly about a few trends that are happening at the moment. Organic reach, that's the natural reach you get on things like Google and Facebook, for example. Say the reach you get for a Facebook post is dying on those platforms because they're mature platforms. And therefore because they want to sell you paid for reach, they want to sell you ads for your posts or your website to go further. So the growth of pay for reach. So your strategy needs to look at some ad spend to get some reach. Messaging groups, Facebook groups have huge organic reach. There's a massive amount of stuff going on WhatsApp and other messaging apps. And you need to have a strategy that reflects that, and there's growing activity now, businesses to leverage what's going on in messaging groups. There's absolutely enormous growth in social media at the moment and online. Email marketing is back in fashion. And some of you may not realize it ever went out of fashion, but it is a bit more back in fashion because it's direct communication with your clients or prospects. So cherish that email list you have, look after it, and make sure you use it reasonably regularly, not too regularly. Get some advice from me if you want to know how to use that. I mentioned now TikTok as well. I mentioned at the very beginning, TikTok is absolutely booming. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun short form video platform that you can also share on other social media as well. It's a business to consumer platform, but it's absolutely booming. Probably the fastest growing platform at the moment. So there you are. Just tell you briefly about my digital space program, how to adapt and thrive in the current situation. It's free. There are live video hints and tips, 30-minute FaceTime consultation to anybody who's a member. And you also get email updates as well once a month. For clients, I'm also doing some closed group video sessions, much more regular FaceTime consultation, and continuous support on WhatsApp. So if you want to sign up, please go to cheshiredigitalmarketing.co.uk. You can message me on Facebook or LinkedIn on my Facebook page, or if you just search for Cheshire Digital Marketing, you'll find the details. So I'm just going to unshare this now so I can see if there's any questions. Okay, so hopefully I can see now. Lovely. Right. Okay, so all right, so really just to finally to conclude now, if I get my screen right here. That's it really. So I hope that really helped. Thanks, for watching. So you can see this video anytime on my YouTube channel. You don't have to join me live for it. Please like the video if you don't mind, giving it a thumbs up, a comment. Even better, subscribe to my channel so you can get notifications on the next time. Click the notifications icon when you do that. I'll be doing another live session in the next week or so on something topical to perhaps something to do more about the future and the after phase. In the meantime, please take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye for now.